This topic of estate planning is one of those areas that people don't like to think about. They don't like thinking about what will happen if something happens to them. The unfortunate thing is that we all need to think about it because, unfortunately, we're all going to die, or we're all going to die at some point, and we may also have a situation where we're incapacitated and we need that to be dealt with. So whilst you may not want to think about it, this is a super, super important area in the book. And if you don't believe me, and why it's so important, there's a famous case from the UK that took 117 years to resolve. It went from 1798 through to 1915. And it was a case called, I believe it was Jennings versus Jennings. And it was a dispute because Jennings died without a will back in 1978. He was a very, very wealthy man. And the litigation lasted for 117 years as the family fought over what he truly intended in his will. And it only stopped at the beginning of the First World War because the estate ran out of money. So this is why estate planning is really, really important, because if you don't define your legacy and what happens with your estate when you die, someone else will. And God forbid it spends 100 plus years in court. I don't think that would happen these days, but it is possible. And it's why it's really, really important. So let's start off with what happens if you die without a will. If you die and you don't have a will or an estate plan in place, then what happens is you die intestate, is a legal term for that. And that means you die without a will. And so then there are rules, and depending on where you are in the world, different rules will apply to your estate depending on the area. So for Queensland and Australia where I live, if you've got a spouse, the spouse gets the first $150,000 and any other assets that the person had. If you have children as well, then the first $150,000 goes to the spouse, and then the rest of it is split between the children and the spouse. And these rules are slightly different in every single situation, in every single jurisdiction. So it's really important to understand that if you die without a will, you will not be able to control what happens with your estate. Worse than that, and what happened in that case that went for around 117 years, is that then the parties have a fight. Your family members who are already grieving over your loss have a fight over what actually is meant to happen, what you intended to happen with your estate. So I think I've gone on enough about this. Make sure that you understand the importance of having a will and that you put the right chocks in place for that. I'm going to get into the next one and go through the rest of the estate planning piece and what's important in there. So get into the next video now.